Today, we're going to look at some 6th grade math. First, we're going to start with number lines. Well, this number line, labeled with an X, goes left to right. A left to right number line is called a horizontal number line. Notice how the horizontal number line starts at 0. And as we go to the right, we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All of these numbers are positive. Positive is to the right. Now we're going to look at what happens when we go to the left. We're still going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps, but we're going in the opposite direction, so we must use a negative. So -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. Negatives are to the left. Now let's look at the number line labeled with a Y. The Y number line goes up and down. An up and down number line is called a vertical number line. Once again, we're going to start at 0. This time, our positive numbers are going to be up. So +1, +2, +3, +4, +5. Once again, negative means opposite, so as we go down, the numbers will be negative, but they'll be in the same order. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. Now that we've covered that, what happens when we combine a horizontal and a vertical number line? Well, we get something that looks like this. It is called a coordinate plane. We already know that number lines start at the point 0, but where does a coordinate plane start? Well, the start or beginning of something can also be called the origin. And here, the origin is where the x and y axis meet. At x equals 0, y equals 0, or the point 0, 0. Notice how when I write the point 0, 0, I put the x on the left and the y on the right. Not only that, but the two coordinates are also separated by a comma. Make sure whenever you write a coordinate or a point on the coordinate plane, you use this form. Parentheses, x, comma, y, close parentheses. This is called an ordered pair, where the coordinates are written in parentheses. Let's look at some examples. As a first example, let's look at the brown point. We have this girl who is starting off at the origin 0, 0. She is moving 1, 2 places to the right to be on the brown point. Now, since we moved left to right, we moved along the x-axis. So we're going to change the x-coordinate to the number of spaces we moved. In this case, 2. Since we're moving to the right, that is a +2 and not a -2. Now, we did not move up or down at all, so we're going to keep the y-coordinate as 0. Remember, the coordinates are like an address. They show you how to move. So what happens when we try to move to the pink dot? Well, from where she's at, the girl can move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places to the left. So you'd think that the x-coordinate would be -6. However, this is not true. We must always start at the origin 0, 0. So let's start at 0, 0 and move the girl 1, 2, 3, 4 units to the left, so -4. Since we moved along the x-axis, the -4 is our x-coordinate. And since we did not move up or down, our y-coordinate is 0. Finally, we will look at the blue dot. So once again, we're going to start at the origin, and we're going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places to the right. So that is a +5 as our x-coordinate and a 0 as our y-coordinate. Now, let's look at what happens when we move along the y-axis. First, let's move to the brown dot. Our little frog will dive down 1 block. Since down is negative, we're going to start with a -1. We're moving along the y-axis, so the -1 is our y-coordinate. Since we did not move left or right, our x-coordinate is 0. Now, let's look at the pink dot. So, our little frog is going to start off at 0, 0 on his little lily pad, and he's going to move up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get to the pink dot. Notice we started at the lily pad at 0, 0 and not at the brown dot. That is very important. For our final point, we're going to take our frog and once again start him off on the lily pad and move, which is the origin, and move down 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. Since we are moving down 4, will we use a positive 4? No, we're using a -4. Now, for the -4, we need to make sure that we put it in the y-coordinates place. The y-coordinate is the second number, so we're going to put it after the comma. Once again, the x-coordinate is 0 because we did not move left or right. Now, let's look at what happens when you have both an x and a y coordinate. An xy coordinate pair is called an ordered pair. So remember, the first is the x and the second is the y. So the 2 tells us we are going to move along the x-axis 1, 2 places, and we are moving to the right because it is positive. Now, for the 3, we're going to move up 1, 2, 3 places. And we are moving that way because the second coordinate is the y-coordinate. Now let's look at what happens when you move the plane to point 1, -3. Once again, we need to start at the origin where the two axes meet. We're going to move 1 to the right for a +1 along the x-axis, and we're moving 3 down for a -3 along the y-axis. This will be our second point. Finally, we're going to look at the point -2, 4. Once again, we will start from the center, 0, 0, and we're going to move left 2 for a -2 on the x-axis. It's going backwards. And a +4 is up 4 on the y-axis. Finally, we will review the 4 quadrants, or the 4 pieces the graph is split into by the axes. We always start in the top right corner, and we label that quadrant 1. Quadrant 1 is on the positive x-axis and the positive y-axis. So all the points in quadrant 1 will be positive, positive. If we continue counterclockwise, or the opposite of a clock, we will get to quadrant 2. Quadrant 2 is a -x and a positive y. So it's negative, positive. Keep going, and we get to quadrant 3. Quadrant 3 has a -x coordinate and a negative y coordinate. Finally, we get to quadrant 4, and quadrant 4 has a positive x coordinate and a negative y coordinate. If you follow these in order, it forms a C for coordinate plane, or Miss Chelsea. So, if I was to ask you what quadrant the point -1, 3 is in, you would tell me quadrant 2, because you would go, -1 tells you go left, +3 tells you go up. So top left, which is the second. Remember, quadrants are regions labeled with Roman numerals.